everyone, and welcome back to Lucky Loaders 15, where I'll be giving you 6 of my best tips for tomorrow's racing, where I'll be focusing on the action at Doncaster and at Newbury. Now, before we begin, just got a couple of announcements to make. First of all, if you haven't done so already, make sure you check out the latest In the Saddle podcast, where I was with Mark Karosky, racing blogger Katie Clements, and also as well former jump jockey Paul Callahan. We were discussing the action this weekend at Newbury on Saturday, talking about the Labrooks Trophy. Quite a few different opinions there. Also as well talking about the fight in fifth hurdle. Are we going to stay or stick with Epton? Plenty of opinion on that subject. So if you want to find out a little bit more about it, just click in the description box below, where we've got links to our iTunes account. Also as well our Spotify, SoundCloud, whatever takes your fancy. Just make sure you listen to one of those podcast platforms provided in the description box below, and make sure you follow, rate and review where you can. Really appreciate all the support you give me there. So if you want to listen to that, just hit the description, one of the links in the description box below. Also as well, quickly just recap on how our selections performed today. In the end, the nap at Taunton, She Soon Sunny had no excuses, held his position at the top of the market for the majority of the day for Tom Bellamy and Alan King, but we knew really that the writing was on the wall from an early stage. Halfway he didn't look happy, wasn't that well settled, and Tom Bellamy was asking for an effort quite a way out, and in the end he just wasn't responding, and it just wasn't his day, and there wasn't really too many excuses for him. However, our next best, now that was a bit more of a frustrating selection, Ask Henry. We put him up at 17-2 last night, and I did see after I recorded that there was a bit of 9-1 in a place, and he was very well gambled on. I went off, I think, round about 4-1, 7-2 favourite. There was quite a bit of money for him coming up to post time, you know, and if you were watching the race, we were thinking, hello here, we're on to a nice price winner. Was going so well, you know, and he looked like the winner turning in, and in the end he unseated Keelan Woods 2 out, and that one was a real kick in the teeth. Reminded me of a horse that we put up at Fakenham, you might remember, about a month ago, called Fixed Rate, who unfortunately suffered a fatal injury in that race at Fakenham we put him up in. He was 10 lengths clear at the last, tipped at 33-1, and then fell, unfortunately, like I said, sustained a fatal injury. But fortunately today, Ask Henry, Keelan Woods and the horse Garth Henry, they both came away unscathed, I believe, so at least that's a bit of good news there. But yeah, very frustrating there when you find one at a decent price, you're sitting on one at a nice price, and it looks like it's going to win, and then something like that just happens. That would have really turned our fortunes around, because yesterday felt a bit like a hard luck day too, with a couple of really close second places. So yeah, just our luck's not been with us recently, but it's the way it goes in racing. You have your ups, you have your downs. This week's been a bit of a mixed bag. Had a couple of winners here and there, but all in all, nothing really to write home about. But I've got 6 tips for tomorrow's racing, and I'm hoping to make amends there. Fancy quite a few tomorrow, and there's some decent action coming up. So let's get stuck into it. And we're going to be going to Doncaster for the first tip tomorrow in the 125 there. Looks a competitive handicap chase on paper, but I thought Cracking Find here represented a little bit of good value at 6-1, and I'm going to recommend an each way selection here, and I'm hoping he can live up to his name for Ryan Mania and Sue Smith. Now, Sue Smith had a similar horse that won at Wetherby the other day, and I was in the Sky Sports racing production office talking to one of my colleagues there, and he was on Some Rain, and obviously if you follow the YouTube channel here, you know I tipped up Some Rain, and I was saying, oh yeah, that horse in front, Joke Dancer, I think he's going to be winning a race soon. He's probably one to keep an eye out, probably run well, but be one for next time. But what happened? Joke Dancer went and won that race, so obviously that was a bit of irony there. But this horse, Cracking Find, is a very similar horse to Joke Dancer. It reminds me a lot of him, and this horse is now down to a really attractive mark of 122. Now, if you go back through some of his form, he actually won at this course and distance back in January 2019, beating Forrest Behan, who's no mug on his day. If I remember correctly, he won the old Rowan Chase back in 2019, and despite getting plenty of weight that day, that was definitely a career best efforts. But he was off the mark that day, Cracking Find, of 131. He's now down to 122, which I think is fairly workable. He's had 2 starts this season so far, both came at Wetherby, unseated first time out, and then ran well for a long way in actually that race where Some Rain on his penultimate start actually fell when looking like the winner. But Cracking Find that day ran well for a long way and probably just got tired. But after a couple of runs now, I think he should be fit. And Sue Smith's horses are just starting to run a little bit better. They've had a couple of winners in the last couple of days, and this is normally the time of the season when we get to December, January, you know, they start coming to the fore. And I think Crack and Fine now is down to a really workable mark, and sometimes at Doncaster as well, it can be hard to peg back front runners. And he's got the ground in his favour. Of course he likes, down to the well handicap mark now. Lot to like about him. I think he can run really well at price tomorrow, and I'll be disappointed if he didn't go really close. And that's why he's just going to be an extra tip tomorrow, but I'm really confident about him running a big race. So that's going to be the tip there. We then go to Newbury for the free runner. A race here, won by Champ last year. You might remember in a bit of a scary fashion if you were backing him that day. But yeah, 3 runners for this race tomorrow. Grade 2 novice chase, 150 at Newbury. But despite there being only 3 runners here, I'm going to be taking a chance with my nap here with Getaway Trump for Harry Cobden and Paul Nicholls. You can currently back him at 7-2. Now, I know a lot of you probably sitting there thinking, God, I couldn't be backing Getaway Trump here. It doesn't appeal to me. However, I think he represents quite a lot of value at 7-2, and I just think he has turned the corner slightly this season with 2 nice wins. Winning at Warwick, where he beat Zoffi, who boosted the form somewhat of an extent by winning on his next start at Exeter. Also as well, he was a really good winner last time at Fakenham, where he really showed an attitude like he never done before. You know, he beat a horse of Kim Bailey's, who's no mug, called Happy Go Lucky, who could be a really exciting novice chaser this season. And I think if he replicates that performance tomorrow, I think he might win this race. And if you go back through some of his earlier form, he bumped into Galore, who now is no bad thing, a grade 2 winner, and also as well won a decent handicap at Exeter very impressively. So Getaway Trump has got some good form this season, and he's just started to turn into the horse that he might have been a couple of seasons ago. You might remember he was very well backed, if I remember, to win the Betfair hurdle, but I think he only finished 4th that year when it was reorganised at Ascot. I was there that day. But he's got some good form if you go back through his career. He finished 2nd to Champ here at the course in the Challow hurdle, so the course shouldn't be an issue for him. You know, I think a flat left-handed track will really bring out the best in him, you know. And for me, if you look at the opposition here, again, another thing why I would like to be on the side of Getaway Trump. I think first of all, Fiddler on the Roof, I'm not convinced about him at all. I think he was a bit of a fortunate winner at Exeter last time out. I wasn't really raving about him at all. Yes, he might have been beaten a fair horse of Fergal O'Brien's called Silver Hallmark, but I thought he really did have to work extremely hard to win that day. And I wasn't convinced at all with his first start at Fosslas, and Tizard still a few question marks with them for me over the form of their stable. So a horse I probably would want to stay away from. Also as well, Caribbean Boy from Nicky Henson might look exciting on paper, but we haven't seen him for a little while. Well, I think Getaway Trump, with the vast experience he's accumulated now, conditions in his favour, I think the track shouldn't be a problem as well. I think he represents a good bit of value, and if it turns into a little bit of a fight, I like the attitude of Getaway Trump from what I saw last time. So yeah, in the 150 at Newbury tomorrow, I think he represents good value in a free runner race. We had a winning nap in a free runner race the other day at Ascot with Song for Someone, who I was really confident on. Kind of same levels really. I'm really confident about Getaway Trump doing the job for us tomorrow, and I think he's the one they've got you've got to be siding with there. We then go to the 225 at Newbury, where I'm going to be going with another Cobden and Nicholls combination here of San Benedetto. Now this San Benedetto is actually a former Grade 1 winner, if I remember. He won at Aintree a few years ago now, when he was a fortunate winner, if I remember correctly, when Politlog fell at the last. But San Benedetto, he's always been a classy horse, but has been one of those horses that's sometimes been between a rock and a hard place. Not quite good enough for graded company, but sometimes too high in the weights to win a big handicap. But he's now down to his last winning mark of 147, where he won the Greatwood Chase here at Newbury a couple of years ago, now back in March 2019, and I think he's down, like I said, to a winnable mark. Now, if we look at his recent run, he had a recent run where he ran at Exeter, if I remember correctly, in the Howden Gold Cup, put a line through that, probably needed it that day, but the conditions are going to be in his favour tomorrow. He's a horse that likes good ground, and also as well, he's a horse that likes running at Newbury. He's got a good record here. Now, he actually finished 4th in this race last year behind Old Grangewood, but he had to give £1.03 to Old Grangewood that day. And I was actually back to Old Grangewood. I remember that day came from absolute mile back. You might remember it was one of definitely the highlights of the jump season for me. Yeah, I think now that they're going to be on levels, I think San Benedetto's got a good chance in this race tomorrow. They're both off 147, and I think the race might just play out for him. There's a few nice horses in here that represent maybe some interesting contenders, but for me, I think San Benedetto, with his course form, good ground, Nicholls' team have been going well, had another winner as well at Taunton today. Lots to like about his chances, and I'll be disappointed if he couldn't make the frame. And I think at 15-2 there, he represents some good value and is worth an each way bet, and he's just going to be an extra tip of the day tomorrow. We then go to the 235 at Doncaster with my next best, with a horse called Genie for Alan Johns and Tim Vaughan. You can currently back the horse at the time of recording at 5-2. Now this horse has finished second on his last 2 starts, been quite frustrating, but his second at Foss Lass has been well franked. We actually had a horse here on my YouTube channel yesterday that came out of that race, Alain de Baum, however you pronounce it, for David Pipe, ran a good race to finish second behind Cuban Pete, who Genie then finished second to on his next start at Stratford, and was very unlucky that day, arguably. And for us, we were on the lucky side, because you might remember I actually put up Cuban Pete that day. So to see that form being boosted, that's another positive as well. He's off a mark of 117, but the key to him here, why he looks a good, attractive bet tomorrow, is the fact that he's a 4-year-old and he's getting all the weight allowances for the weight for age thing. So yeah, a lot to like about his chances tomorrow. I think the ground should be fine. Don't think the track should be a problem. Brings plenty of good form to the table, and I think he's got a very good chance tomorrow. And I think he's one you want to side with. His form's solid, and yeah, I quite like him to run a big race tomorrow. So that's going to be my next best of the day in the 235 at Doncaster. We then go to the 3 o'clock at Newbury for the long distance hurdle. Now obviously looks a competitive race on paper here, but I had to put up a selection. It's going to be an extra tip tomorrow, and Paisley Park, I think at 5-2 represents a little bit of good value. Get that price at the time of recording with Paddy Power, trained by Emma Lavelle and Aidan Coleman as but for the ride. Now if he runs to anywhere near his rating, this horse off 167, surely he's got to be winning this, you know. Now we look at some of the young pretenders. We look at McFabulous, who did the job very nicely at Chepstow, couldn't have done it any more impressively, but I've got some question marks over the form, and he's got to prove that he stays slightly further, you know. So despite getting £3 from Paisley, they're still £14 on official rating, so he's still got to find £11 of improvement. So that's another thing there. Time Hill is a horse that, yes, I know he's got a lot of good form, and he won the Shallow here last season. He's just a horse that I've never particularly warmed to, and also as well, the Philip Hobbs yard have not been in the best of form, so that would be a concern there. Somerville Boy, not so sure about him. It's not a horse that, again, I've particularly warmed to, so again, a horse probably wouldn't want to side with. And I just think if Paisley Park had won the Stairs hurdle, there probably would only be a few horses in this race, you know, and a lot of these horses wouldn't probably want to take him on. But the fact that obviously he had that issue with his heart problem, but it seems like it's all been resolved now, that's where he's got to prove to people that he's still at the top table. But I think at 5-2 tomorrow, again, it could be a bit like a Surname moment, where he could drift out to a little bit of a price. At the time of recording, he's 5-2, and he could win quite easily, and we could go, hey, why weren't we backing him here? This could have been an absolute steal. So yeah, I think at 5-2 tomorrow, he does represent a bit of value. Of course, if we don't want to back him, you don't have to back all of these tips, you know. But I just think at 5-2 tomorrow, Paisley Park has got a good chance of winning this race if he turns up on his best form. And also as well, goes very well fresh. Apart from his debut, every time he's come back, so 4 seasonal reappearances, he's won every single time. Or he's won 3 times if I can actually, or 4 times if I can actually correct it. So he won on his seasonal reappearance here last year. He won at Aintree when he won the handicap when he came to prominence. He won back in 2017. And I think he won his bumper on as well in his first start back for a while. So yeah, he's got a very good record fresh. Emma Lavelle's horse has been running well as well. Had another winner at Taunton today. A lot of things to like about him. The vibes are really positive about him. They say he's in really good shape. And yeah, I think he's going to take all the beating tomorrow. And like I said, if he runs anywhere near his rating, he should be the one that they've all got to beat. And I think 5-2 could look a big price, and if he drifts, even better for me. We then go to the 335 at Newbury for the long shot of the day, with a horse that's been a favourite of mine for quite a while, but never quite has delivered on what I think looks like he could have done at some point during his career, and that's IK Brunel for Aidan Coleman and Ollie Murphy in the colours of the McNeil family. Now, this horse is currently 18 to 1 with bookmakers at the time of recording, and that price was available with Paddy and Betfair, who are offering 4 places on this race, so an each way selection is recommended. But this horse, IK Brunel, I think has run not too badly this season. It's had 2 goes over fences as a novice, finished second at Frontwell, where I thought he was slightly unlucky that day. And then he went to Wetherby last time, and he bumped into Sham Blue, who I think could be a real player this season. And if he does turn up in the RSA, he would definitely have to be respected, you know, because the way he did the job, given some of these horses in the race at Wetherby last time plenty of weight, was very, very impressive. And there's some substance to that form, because the second, Snowed Epidesse, won at Haydock at the weekend, and she looks potentially well handicapped, and she had some fair form next to her name. And also as well, Hold the Note was in that race, who is no mug either, you know. So yeah, that was quite a good race, I think, at Wetherby, despite him being well beaten. But going over hurdles tomorrow, I think, is really interesting. Now, the last time we saw him over hurdles, he won quite easily, beating a fair horse of Paul Nicholls, I think it is, called Saint Xavier, that's actually owned by the David Maxwell. And he beat him really nicely that day on good ground, and also as well over stay and trips, you know. And he hasn't had too many goes over hurdles. He's still a really lightly raced individual, very unexposed, I think, as a stayer. And to me, Hill 16, who, yes, was an impressive winner last time out, I think he's taken up too much space at the top of the market. And I think a horse like IK Brunel, who we haven't quite gotten to the bottom of yet, and got some fair form to his name this season, could look well in here off a mark of 138, and I'm willing to give him a chance. And I think he should be at least half the price he is. He was actually meant to be running in the Stayers handicap at Haydock the other day, and I think he probably wouldn't have coped with the really testing ground. But coming here, I think it's a slightly easier task for him. And I think he can run a massive race and definitely outrun his odds. And I would be disappointed if he wasn't at least challenging for a place. So that's why he's going to be my long shot of the day tomorrow. And he rounds off all my 6 tips. So let's quickly go through them then, finalise them down for you. In the 125 at Doncaster, extra tip, cracking fine, 6 to 1 each way. The nap is in the 150 at Newbury, Getaway, trump, 7 to 2, win only bet. In the 225 at Newbury, Sam Benedeto is an extra tip at 15 to 2 each way. In the 235 at Doncaster, we go the Genie, 5 to 2, win only bet. In the 3 o'clock, an extra tip, Paisley Park, 5 to 2, win only bet. And in the 335 at Newbury is IK Brunel, and he's currently 18 to 1, 4 places each way, with Paddy and Betfair as the long shot of the day. So yep, they're the 6 tips for tomorrow's racing. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you hit the subscribe button to more videos here on my YouTube channel. Also as well, if you're liking these videos, please remember to hit the thumbs up button. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can do, where my handle is at LuckyLoader15. If you want to find out a little bit more about myself as well, my website is www.chrisloaderracing.co.uk. Please gamble responsibly. Hopefully we can have some winners tomorrow, and we'll be seeing you soon.